Now it's time to give introduction about today's second session resource person, Mr. Aravind Voruganti, sir.
Sir,
Please,
Aravind, sir,
yes.
you have joined, no, sir? You have messaged me. You have sent a message to me.
Yeah, ma'am.
Aravind,
Yes,
sir?
yes.
Okay, sir.
Yes. Am I audible? Yeah.
Yes, sir. Audible, sir. Yeah, thank you, sir. It's an absolute privilege to introduce Mr. Aravind Voruganti, a globally recognized blockchain leader and a seasoned professional with over 12 years of diverse industry experience. Currently serving as the Global Vice President at IDS, Mr. Voruganti has established himself as a trailblazer in the blockchain domain, leading production-grade enterprise blockchain projects across more than 10 industry verticals. His contributions span sectors like supply chain, trade finance, central bank digital currency, telecommunications, energy accounting, oil and gas, HR verification, air cargo operations, governance, risk and compliance, NFT marketplaces, and even educational metaverse. As a blockchain solution architect, Mr. Voruganti has provided invaluable technical guidance and insights, helping organizations design and implement cutting-edge blockchain solutions. His exceptional leadership has driven the blockchain practice and products at IDS, contributing to the company's remarkable success in this rapidly evolving industry. His commitment to education and knowledge sharing is evident in his role as a corporate trainer and subject matter expert. Mr. Voruganti has trained over 3,500 professionals, educators, and students from various countries, including United States, United Kingdom, Dubai, India, and Singapore. Notably, he has conducted accredited blockchain training programs for government officials from DRDO India, the Central Bank of Nigeria, and the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, as well as 500 plus fintech leaders through courses accredited by Institute of Banking and Finance, Singapore. He recognized as one of the top 50 blockchain influencers in India for 2022. Mr. Voruganti is also the chair of the Hyperledger Governance, Risk and Compliance Special Interest Group. He actively contributes to shaping best practices and advancing blockchain discussions in the global community. Academically, Mr. Voruganti holds prestigious qualifications from IIIT Hyderabad and Liverpool Business School, UK, which further underscore his expertise and credibility. With an unwavering dedication to driving innovation, collaboration, and knowledge sharing in the blockchain industry, Mr. Aravind Voruganti stands as a beacon of excellence and inspiration. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Aravind Voruganti as he shares his expertise with us today. I request Mr. Aravind Voruganti, sir, to take over the session. Over to you, sir.
Good evening, everyone, and thanks for the profile. Indeed, I think that has highlighted various things what I have been doing. So thanks for introduction. And today I'll be talking about, as the slide shows, I'll be talking about AI governance and data integrity using blockchain. So let me quickly share my screen. Hope you are able to see the screen. Yes.
Sir.
Okay. And of course, having worked in the blockchain space from early 2017-18 till now, I have seen blockchain evolving from, say, the currency on blockchain, then the capital on blockchain, and then commerce on blockchain, and today communities on blockchain. So I have seen it evolving over a period of time. And from last couple of years, I have been also consistently following the trends in Gen AI. And indeed, for some of the initiatives like Bharat Blockchain Network and Polyversity, what I am leading nationwide initiatives, we started integrating decentralized autonomous organization and AI-driven governance into it. So from my first-hand experience, I'll try to throw some light on the AI governance and data integrity using blockchain, and I will kind of share some real experiences or stories which I have seen uh, uh, in the industry, which are worth sharing. And I would say this particular presentation may look rudimentary in terms of design because I used the same Gen AI to put the context of what I wanted to discuss, and then kind of drafted the content, and then the presentation is also generated by Gen AI. So indeed, I did that intentionally because I just want to show the kind of data points it captured. And throughout this slide, there is one data which is just generated because of bias in Gen AI. I mean, bias in Chat GPT. And at the end, I feel I wish some of you participants would identify that. Okay. Because I just want to make sure you're actually experiencing the topic which I am discussing today in real time. Okay. So let me kickstart the session. First of all, if you carefully observe from industry 1.0 to industry 4.0, which we are in, one of the biggest effort from the engineers is digital transformation. So we always craved for digitizing the data and then sharing the data through internet and then managing the data, visualizing it, predicting or analyzing it. And then when we came to industry 4.0, we kind of started working on the data security, data integrity, data verifiability side of the things. So in that context, digital transformation is something which is kind of happening throughout these decades. But then now we are entering into an era where, or what I term as digital transcendence. Why digital transcendence? So let me take the literal meaning of transcendence. What is transcendence? Basically, a human kind of realizing and kind of becoming independent of something is what we call digital. I mean, what we call as transcendence, right? Because you are able to kind of gain independence with respect to certain aspects, right? But then you're actually increasing dependency on something also. Okay. So I'll throw more light as we progress. But all I want to tell you is till now, it's all digital transformation efforts. But the more and more technology from now is moving humanity towards digital transcendence. So when I say digital transcendence, it is basically happening because of a mega convergence, what I term as Gen AI plus blockchain. And see, sometimes it's all naming convention which brings enthusiasm in the world. But actually, if you carefully look in terms of what Gen AI is, uh, and what has brought this generative AI today is basically the semantic web, something which is happening for quite long time. But generative AI is one of the application or one of the predominant use case of generative AI, of semantic web. And similarly, you have been going through this blockchain course, and I just heard last 5-10 minutes of your previous session from Kalavati ma'am. So you have amazing faculty who is enabling you all to build smart contracts on blockchain. And I'm sure in your previous sessions, you might have understood blockchain is basically a decentralized network governed by a peer-to-peer network. So in that context, that distributed, sorry, yeah, it's a distributed ledger governed by a decentralized network. So, and you might have already understood that blockchain is more a consensus driven web, where everyone who is participating in that network is agreeing on what is truth, right? And once that common agreement comes up, obviously you can trust it as the truth. And that is where the distributed governance and consensus. So while Gen AI is all about semantic web, where the data is being referenced to generate new data, but then blockchain is all about consensus driven web, where whatever you are referencing to, whether the integrity of the data or the verifiability of the data or authenticity of the data is taken care by blockchain. So both are important, because at the end of the day, if whatever might be the model, a large language model or a small language model, at the end of the day, it is as good as the data on which it is trained. Now, in that context, obviously, if the data on which it is trained has certain flaws, the model also will carry forward that flaws, and whatever intelligence which you will be leveraging as part of generative AI will also carry that. So in that context, what I feel is this convergence is very natural and is happening at a very good time. And for last 5 years to 10 years, I have been hearing a lot people saying blockchain is a solution waiting for a problem. Blockchain is a solution waiting for a problem. And I feel the governance issues with generative AI, the monetization of generative AI, the value exchange in generative AI has lots of big flaws. And the beautiful problem arrived now by the time blockchain technology and its stack got matured. Today, blockchain technology got matured in terms of standards, in terms of interoperability, in terms of awareness. And the beauty is now we got a new emerging technology called generative AI with certain problems, which is perfectly fit into the solutions what blockchain can offer. And that is why I term this particular mega convergence as happening very natural. It is not something what is pre-planned, rather it is happening organically and it is very natural. And in this context, I wanted to highlight 2 pointers basically, because today for last, what should I say, if you look at last couple of, at least last decade, it's all about content creation, right? With Web 2, which is read and write only web, people started creating content. But at the end of the day, the contextual content is something which is missing. And the duplication of content is something which is always there. And even if you take, for example, a research literature today, now I'm sure some of you in the participants are faculty members. Now tell me, today, if you want to do some research, the first thing you would be doing is reviewing certain research papers across. Now, why do you review it? Because obviously you want to kind of grasp or capture 2 things. One, the context. So context is basically giving a direction to the data, right? Or information or meaning of the data. So in that context, when you do certain research reviews and all, obviously you are basically trying to find the context in which that particular field is evolving or that particular research is evolving. And the second thing which you also capture is a pattern, which is basically the trend line, right? So context and trend line is what is an overhead effort which is being put in spite of you having lots of references, citations. So the point is, now you have a web of information and there is always context and referencing which is already there. But the biggest problem is capturing intelligence from that particular set of data is what you need kind of models to be designed. But now with generative AI, you have a generalized or a large language model. So you need not build niche small models or small language models to drive it. Rather, you can have something which can scroll across the unstructured data and can come up with some actionable insight. So in that context, you can basically see the future where more and more content creation would happen and it will augment. So generative AI is basically augmenting the data creation by giving certain certain capability to give a context and then generate content. So far it is like you have content and you were generating context, but now you have context and you can generate content. So this is something which is a flipping effect which is happening with respect to semantic web, right? So I request everyone to mute yourself and please maintain decorum of the session. Yeah. And second thing is trust, right? So if you carefully observe, trust is the new currency. If you carefully observe cryptocurrency, the first application of blockchain, right? I request the organizers to mute someone who is, who didn't mute. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So let me go back. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So coming to the second pointer, basically we have seen with Bitcoin, one of the biggest thing it facilitated is the digital trust, right? And today blockchain is able to simulate a trusted third party without involving any intermediaries, right? So one of the biggest capability of blockchain is disintermediation, right? And it facilitates data immutability, because of which you have trust automatically facilitated among all the stakeholders involved in the blockchain network. So in that context, trust in the digital world is the new currency, and the value exchange is happening on blockchain seamlessly. Now, the convergence is what we will discuss in the coming slides. So while blockchain provides the consensus-driven web, ensuring data integrity, transparency, and verifiability, Gen AI is all about kind of driving or generating a contextual driven, generating data against a constant, a context given by the end user to give a actionable insight. But now, at the end of the day, if I want to act on the insight based on the insight I received, first of all, I should trust the decision making of that model, right? So if you carefully observe these two mega trends, one, generative AI is all about decision intelligence, and then blockchain is about decision trust. And if we can bring these two together, that will kind of create a next generation capabilities, right? So before I move into this one, I would like to also refer one amazing report which I have recently gone through by Outlier Ventures. So if some of you are aware, Outlier Ventures is basically a accelerator for blockchain startups. And recently they published this interesting report called the Post Web. Okay. So if you look at the Post Web, thesis. I mean, it's a thesis, a post-web thesis. Okay, you can just go through that post session. So what post-web is saying is, if you carefully observe, Kalavati ma'am might have discussed about Web 1, Web 2, and Web 3. Okay, but to put you all on same page, let me repeat it. So Web 1 was always
Sir,
a
discussed.
read-on. Yeah, so Web 1 was read-only web where users used to consume information, right? And then Web 2, which is predominant applications which we use today, are read and write only web, right? But then Web 3 is a transition from account-based access to a wallet-based access, where you can read, write, and own your data, correct? But then now the next generation, or what they call as the post-web, is read, write, own, but delegate. So today I can train a agent, an agentic AI, right? People are now talking about agentic AI, an AI agent. So say, for example, I own certain data and I have gained some experience working on that particular data. And now I train my AI agent on the data by making it understand the context of my experiences. And then I delegate my work basically to that AI agent so that it does it all. And then I just review it and give a go ahead. So now the ability to delegate something to the web or to the world of web is something which is giving us the digital transcendence. Because if you are able to delegate something, you are actually transcending yourself to focus on something more or something bigger or something better. So far it is very engaging world, like read, write, own, but now delegate. So that is how you are actually gaining digital transcendence. And this is something which is next 10 years. I mean, 5 to 10 years, you will see each one of you training your personal agent, okay, an AI agent, and it does certain things for you without much of your involvement. And that is how you replicate yourself. But still, this has lots of problems in terms of governance, in terms of identity, in terms of management, in terms of trusting that delegation, right? And that is what today's session, next session, and next session, I mean, the next 2 days also, I'll be throwing more light on certain deeper aspects. But then all I want to tell you is we are entering into an era of digital transcendence. So now let me tell you a kind of two stories, because I love telling stories, something which I feel an easy way to share experiences. So the first story is the biased AI model. Today, any generative AI or AI model is basically training on certain data. And from that data, it tries to capture the context of certain things and it learns. And then you have, and anything you ask within the scope of the data, it is able to kind of respond, right? And somewhere back in 2020, a bank's AI rejected 50% of women's loan applications despite having equal credit scores. And this is just, and the impact is 10,000 plus rejected loans and $10 million in fines because they were not able to comply with certain gender equality norms, and they took the decisions just based on AI. So that means today you can delegate, but you can't make a generative AI model to decide. And if you are doing that, then please get ready. Your AI model may have some biases. and that biases can be inferred to generate the data or decisions. So this biased AI model is one of the biggest challenge which can only be addressed by defining the governance of what kind of data is being captured and by referring what data is sourced to train it. And story two is data tampering in healthcare, especially. So very recently, a cyber attack on a hospital altered 5% of AI training data. And because of that, there were a lot of misdiagnoses which happened, which also created $15 million in legal costs. So the reliability on the data, whether it is tampered or whether it is hacked, that is also something which will decide what AI can do. And this is something which is been there for quite some time, but now the mass adoption of AI is happening because of the generative AI, and these things are becoming more and more apparent. And that is where blockchain comes into picture, right? Because blockchain is also sometimes referred as the trust machine, because obviously it assures the integrity of the data. Second, it assures the collective correctness of the data also, because anything which anything which is happening because of consensus, you can also kind of think that, okay, the collective intelligence in terms of who is giving or who is consenting or endorsing the data is also something which will decide the trust on that data. So in that context, now imagine you have the distributed governance of blockchain embedded into the AI governance. Then the loan applications or loan applicants access immutable records of how their data is evaluated. Because eventually, how the decisions are made by that Gen AI model will be the biggest question as more and more mass adoption happens. And second, the healthcare providers can verify the patient data with zero tampering risks. And indeed, by 2030, blockchain in AI governance could address at least $20 billion losses annually. Because now the trend of delegating things to AI got started. Obviously, how you govern that AI agents or how you govern the use of certain AIs in your day-to-day business processes will be always questioned. And that is where blockchain can play a pivotal role. And indeed, if you look at the real world challenge one, data provenance, right? So I'm sure if some of the previous speakers spoke about provenance in supply chain, right? Now blockchain can enable a end-to-end track and trace of a product from manufacturer till retailer by capturing the moments of chain of custody. That means the inward and outward between all the stakeholders in the supply chain, and it can give provenance of that product journey. Now similarly, if you look at AI, all the value or the insight is coming because of multiple referencing happening in the background. And now the provenance of that referencing is also something which is important. And that is where from where you are sourcing the data also becomes important. Because if you remember a article, published, I think 8 months back or 9 months back, where a question was posed to OpenAI CTO, the Chief Technology Officer, on what is the kind of data or data the AI is, the OpenAI is trained on. And the blunt answer which she said is she doesn't know it. So a CTO doesn't know You can take it two ways. One, she might be hiding something, or second, no one is fooled to accept that as a right answer. So that means data provenance, data ownership, and how people are stealing data to train their models so that they can gain intelligence and start monetizing that. And that is also something which can be addressed with blockchain, because I think I remember one of my good contact in IBM was talking about they implemented some data referencing mechanism using blockchain, where based on whose data is used to generate that response, they share some part of the revenue to that source. So the beauty of blockchain is it can create a value exchange mechanism. So imagine there is a source of healthcare data sourced from 10 clinical research companies. Okay. And there is a pharmaceutical company which kind of used that all that medical data coming from 10 different companies or 10 different clinical research organizations, and kind of created some IP using generative AI. Now, who owns that? Who owns that IP? Is it that pharma company which generated it, or does it also inherently have some ownership from the people who sourced it? So the IP sharing have been kind of pretty much centralized in past, but now with generative AI, the IP creation is also happening in a decentralized mode by sourcing multiple data points and inferring through it. So that means a decentralized IP mechanism can only be supported with a distributed governance of blockchain. So in that context, data provenance is the biggest use case of blockchain in AI. So let's take a scenario. A global retailer lost $50 million due to incorrect supply chain predictions from unverifiable data source. Today, we are living in the world of VUCA. VUCA is basically volatile, uncertain, C is complex, and A is, just let me. Ambiguity, right? So if you carefully observe any supply chain, let's assume I put up a false news saying, okay, US banned or have put high tariffs on certain raw materials coming from China. Let's assume, okay. And I have fed it into the generative AI model, which is working on sourcing, or an AI agent working on sourcing side of the business. Okay. So what happens? Then it takes decision based on that. Suddenly it may cancel certain orders which are in pipeline and identify someone else and kind of automate a purchase order with them. So this is like incorrect supply chain predictions, because you can't take decisions on an unverifiable data source. Today, that is happening with humans also, right? Today, a lot of people get scammed because they listen something which they don't, I mean, which they are not supposed to, because it is coming from an unverifiable source, but no one knows, or we are not that accustomed to identify the source of the information. Let me give a simple example. Even within, I mean, I'm not talking even about common people. Okay, I'm talking about a kind of in-house. So one of our employees, okay, at IDS, they received a mail in a very usual format, dear some, and they have put the name of our CEO, and they kind of drafted that whole mail. And you don't believe, a lot of conversations happened post that, but they didn't just check the email ID from which it is coming. Of course, there is message signature or mail signature, whatever a standard thing. Somehow they kind of duplicated that. But the mail was a random mail. And they didn't even look at the source mail. So we are not accustomed with that, right? Now, similarly, if the Gen AI, which we kind of train, is also trained or having a pipeline of data source which is unverifiable, then of course it will still create challenges. So that is where blockchain can act as a solution, and it can track every data input back to its origin. And indeed, Walmart saved $27 million annually by using blockchain for food traceability, right? So now let me take you to the real world challenge 2, which is accountability in automated decisions. What is the scenario here? Basically, a job portal's AI rejected 40% of qualified candidates, leading to an $8 million lawsuit. Again, bias, basically. Maybe their gender, maybe their ethnic group, what ethnic group they come from, or some biases which are baked in, whatever. Okay. And that is where, if a company who wants to use a AI model to take certain decisions or business decisions, then obviously, if they want to be kind of prove their fairness in terms of the decisions they take, obviously they need to create immutable audit logs. And any immutability or public verifiability use case, blockchain is the best thing to do anyways, right? So in that context, immutable audit logs provide proof of fairness in AI decisions, right? And then example, bias complaints by kind of 25% using blockchain. And now a real world challenge 3, data security in AI systems, right? So recently, I'm not sure if some of you were aware, one of the pharma company, the crazy part they did is, in a huge Excel sheet of data, which they usually publish it for public, one of the column of their findings, the internal team have hidden it rather than removing it. Okay. And someone has unlocked it, and whatever data points showed that whatever drug they are trying to launch into the market has certain inconsistencies and all. Of course, as a clinical guys, they decided that will not have a much impact. But again, when that information came to the common people, they reacted it little different. And suddenly the launch got delayed, and the company lost a lot of money. And that means inference. So even if it is the same data, how you infer and how I infer and how different AI infers will be completely different. So the future is all about reconciling different thought process or different perspectives and trying to come into consensus. So now if you take this example of pharmaceutical company losing 68% of R&D data in a cyber attack, delaying a $1 billion drug launch, just imagine, right? Now, if that kind of data is put on a decentralized storage like IPFS or the metadata on blockchain, whatever, right? It would have reduced some breach risks. So that is also another important, what should I say, layer. So while blockchain is one layer assuring the integrity, verifiability, authenticity, on top of it, the model will get trained on top of it, which can give accurate responses, decisions. And then ethics. This is also very important, right? So how many of you saw this movie, I, Robot? It's been there for quite long back. How many of you saw that? Anyone? I, Robot? It's okay. Even if your answer is no, that's fine. You can speak out now. Okay. So yeah, so basically iRobot is like a company which trains lots of robots, but there is one robot which is ethically trained, and that actually kind of saves humanity from the atrocities that company was doing and all. So if some of you have not seen it, I think it is streaming on Amazon Prime, I guess. So please go and look at it. That's an amazing movie which will give you a sense of how we are moving. Because please understand, the future of digital transformation or work or whatever you field you take, it's not just humans who will be working or contributing. It is algorithms. It is also AI agents. So when you will be working, or they will be acting as your co-workers or colleagues. Okay. So working with human itself is a big challenge. Now you are having a different species coming, that is a kind of AI agents. Let me give one crazy example of, I mean, what happened today. So there is one app called some uni cards or something, which gives a kind of a prepaid credit card, whatever, right? So, and it also does some paycheck services and all. So I thought I don't need it longer. I used it for a couple of months just to experience that paycheck concept as a fintech idea. But then today, when I kind of deactivate the account, it took me to a WhatsApp. I think some chatbot. I don't think it is a chatbot because the responses it is giving is having some symbols and all, which is the common thing in ChatGPT. Okay. So I understood it is a Gen AI based kind of response system. And the crazy part is, if it is a chatbot, usually it gives certain menu and fixed options and you can select. But they kind of drastically move to Gen AI based thing. And it is not understanding what I was saying because I might be using deactivate or some words which are not relevant. So it is saying I can't understand, or it was basically giving me responses which is like, I don't understand the vocabulary, or this vocabulary is not supported, and that kind of things, right? So this is the biggest challenge, right? So if you carefully observe, and after doing certain conversations, it is giving altogether nonsense responses. So there should be some ethics in terms of AI training before you launch it to your end customers. And if that is not done, then I think people will be kind of building bad impression on the brands, right? And if you see the scenario, a social media company kind of got fined $50 million for using user data without consent to train AI models, right? So just imagine the user data without consent. Obviously, because you all know in Web 2, the owner of the data is us as end users, but the control of data, access of the data is with the service provider. So now that means anyone who is having huge user base can leverage that, or already leveraging it, okay, without our consent. Or they may say we have clicked the terms and conditions at the start of the account creation, which is giving them kind of consent. So now what happens is, as we kind of move into Web3 with wallet based accounts and all, obviously your data can't be accessed without your consent. And the smart contracts enforce the consent, and zero knowledge proofs enable AI to learn without exposing your raw data. Because I'm sure today a lot of excitement is all about the ZK rollup, zero knowledge proofs, and decentralized identity, right? So in that context, zero knowledge proofs is like this. Without actually revealing data, you can actually prove certain parameters. Okay. Again, to give a very classic example of zero knowledge proof, say for example, you need to prove your age above certain number or above 18, for example, for some scenario. Then without revealing your specific date of birth, you can still prove you are above 18 age. That is like a zero knowledge proof, a mathematical construct. Okay. So now what happens is you have a blockchain, I mean, a layer where you have your wallet to hold ownership of your data, access of your data. And then on top of it, you have a zero knowledge proof layer. And then on top of it, you have an AI. Okay. So that means you can stack multiple layers based on the scenario and you can build applications on top of it. So how do we quantify the blockchain opportunity for AI governance? So guys, if some of you are like, now we are in blockchain, but now Gen AI is getting more and more opportunities and all. Don't worry, that's fine. You just converge or you just work at the intersection of blockchain and Gen AI. Right? There are a lot of opportunities because blockchain can help to reduce biases, to reduce the data breaches, to improve the user trust, right? And it can reduce the cost of AI missteps. Now, say for example, I kind of interacted with the customer support, which is using a Gen AI based conversational AI. Then if I don't like it, then I won't touch that brand at all over a period of time. So that is like losing a customer, right? So that is an AI implementation misstep. So such missteps can cost billions of dollars for the companies. So now with blockchain, you can actually kind of address them for a period of time, right? But then now there are three important things which I thought I will kind of talk about. One, advocate for integrating blockchain in AI governance frameworks. Today, AI systems are like black boxes. Okay. We are just interacting with a black box with an API through an API, and you are receiving the response. And every LLM below that search bar will put, it may do some mistakes. I mean, please kind of take them. So they are already saying it can have mistakes and you need to, because it is like a small child who got a very basic experiences and some training, and you are trying to leverage them. So that is how you can see AI today. Okay. So basically, blockchain governance is like the whole ecosystem of stakeholders involving in that system will kind of define how that is governed and drive certain standardization in terms of how both of them are used. Okay. So in that context, more and more people should invest their time, efforts in building blockchain solutions to secure and govern AI systems and monetize. So in the coming sessions tomorrow and day after tomorrow, I will talk about the DAO and Gen AI intersection and monetization models, the new business models which will be emerging. And one another biggest challenge is with generative AI, your identity also can be I mean, someone can impersonate you by duplicating your voice or duplicating your video kind of, or duplicating your identity as a whole, right? So that is also something where blockchain can play a role, which I will talk in coming sessions. But all I want to tell you is blockchain plus AI together can create an ethical, trusted digital ecosystems. So in that context, I mean, this is basically what I wanted to share with you all today. But now, in the starting of the presentation, I told you there is one mistake in all these slides. And I'm just wondering if some of you were able to catch that. Anyone? Hello? Hello? Anyone? So that means you're trusting
sir.
me. So there is one mistake in all the slides which I presented. Is there anyone who could catch that? Anyone? Okay, let me show you that. Here it is. So if you look at the example and if you look at the scenario, okay. So if you see scenario, I am talking about data provenance, okay. But if you take the Walmart example where it saved $27 million annually using blockchain for food traceability. See, data traceability was the context, but food traceability is what, or supply chain traceability is what it took it as an example. Okay, so there is always a thin line of difference between inference and misunderstanding. So your LLM or the LLMs which you are training can misunderstand your data, misinterpret your data, and also can bake certain inconsistencies and bias in terms of its decisions. And this is something which is to be addressed. And for that to happen, more and more crowd-sourced data and consensus-driven data is required. Okay, so that is where the aspects of DAO and decentralized identity integrating into AI governance will happen. Okay, so I think with this, I'm pretty much done with today's presentation. So any questions? Open for questions. Hello. Guys, any questions, please?
Participants, please ask the questions.
Yeah, yes.
Yes. Hello, Aravind Garu. First of all, kudos. Excellent presentation and really helpful. I was also taking notes for my students. But sir, mostly wanted to ask you one thing. With 2025 being the year of agentic workflows, do you see the transition happening of AI validators on the chain who will be validating the transactions? Do you think that we will reach that stage of autonomy? If so, what are the pros and cons of it, please? Thank you.
Yeah, sure. So I think in one way or other, it is already happening because if you see blockchain, Blockchain governance is protocol driven, correct? And who is
Right, sir. Yeah.
who have coded the protocol? I mean, it's by community, right? And even if you look at the business workflows which are encoded as smart contracts, what is a smart contract? Basically, you baked or you kind of defined a self-executed business logic and all, right? But what is the touch point which will trigger an event in the smart contract is what you are talking about. So say, for example, on the user interface or on the user experience side of it, who is triggering that smart contract, right? Is it a human or is it a human delegated AI agent? So I think this is more a touch point than the execution itself. Okay. And when you say workflows, I understand the future of what should I say? See, again, at the end of the day, for a smart contract, you have a triggering point, right? Now that trigger point can have multiple triggerers, can be human, can be an AI agent. But the point is, what is the probability with which that trigger is to be considered is again to be defined in that AI workflow. Now, say, for example, any human intervention driven trigger can be given 100% weightage, and then an agentic AI or an AI agent can be given a weightage of 80%, let's assume, right? So I think it is more weighing mechanism which will decide how AI agentic workflows and the smart contract execution would go hand in hand. That's my perspective.
Wow, I think that definitely explains how much it is more on the community-driven weightage mechanism. So thank you so much, sir. Like that's supremely helpful, and really honored to be tomorrow. Sharing the stage with you. So thank you once again, Kalavati ma'am.
Yeah. So anyone else?
Thank you, ma'am.
See, I mean, I have 1.5 hours, but I just finished it off in an hour, 5 minutes because I want to kind of interact and share some experiences. So please ask more and more questions because I want to give contextual content, not the content which I prepared. So guys, we are entering into an era of conversational AI. So that means you will, I mean, it doesn't matter how much you know in past. It all, I mean, what the future of skill depends on how you ask, what you ask, and why you ask. Okay. So that is going to be the most important. And I think now people are kind of formally defining it as prompt engineering, right? So what you prompt is what is going to define or decide the response a Gen AI model would give you. Okay. Yeah, please. Someone unmuted and yeah. Any questions? Come on here, don't worry whether it is a small question, big question. Ask.
So tomorrow we have a Davos session, no?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Can you please visualize our participants a simple DAO application?
Oh, okay. See, I mean, a very easy example I would give is a university campus. For example, you have your college, right? And every year students every year there is board of studies meeting which would happen within your campus, where you have some of your faculty members on the board, some industry experts on the board, and some maybe at a university level, there will be some representations coming from the government, regulator point of view. And all they do is they come into consensus, like what is relevant to industry, what is the trends in industry, and what courses, what hands-on experiences should be given to the students and all. And that is nothing but a decentralized governance or a decentralized autonomous organization. So basically, a simple way of understanding it is you have different stakeholders who come from different organizations, but who are coming together to do certain or to achieve certain work. So any DAO is basically organization which is autonomous. That means it can take decisions on its own and execute on its own, but in a decentralized mode. So what is decentralized? It is shared ownership. So the moment you listen to the word decentralization, just understand it is shared ownership. That means a single organization or a single individual is not driving all the decisions. Rather, it is a group of people coming together, or a group of organizations. It can be at a organization level or an individual level, and they are coming together and kind of working autonomously, while each one of them participating in the consensus. So that is like a very easy thing which I can share, which people can correlate easily. Okay. And what else? Another like very futuristic example which I can give is, say, for example, recently Tesla launched a autonomous cab, right? It is like a decentralized Uber. There is no driver, first of all. So every computer, every electric vehicle is having a computer on board, and that computer on board can have a wallet, can act as a node also, right, on a blockchain network. So now imagine you have 10,000 vehicles which are located across the uh, across the location, and you have some EV charging, and then you have some battery exchange mechanisms and all. So all these machines can do transactions with people, can do charging, can pay EMIs, and can do lots of activities autonomously. But still, the car owner is one of the stakeholder in that particular decentralized Uber, and whatever revenues, platform fee comes to all this platform will be earned by the owners of these cars. So that means a shared infrastructure is created by public, and shared governance in terms of defining what is a platform fee rather than one company defining it. And third, a shared uh, utility in terms of facilitating rides across. So don't visualize that DAO is only human driven. Okay, it can be machine driven, or it can be human machine driven also. Okay, so that means your car can earn on its own by giving rides, and it will pay its EMIs, it will pay its charging fees and whatever. And whatever is remaining, it will, it will maybe give back to you because you are the owner of it. Right. So the future is very, 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 very different than what we are seeing. So whenever you think of futuristic technologies, don't just extrapolate what you know and put it there. Rather, assume that something bigger, something weird, something out of the world can come in and change the way we organize business, or we organize the organizations or enterprises. Yeah.
Okay, sir.
Anything else? Any other questions? I know it's late night, so everyone is feeling hungry and waiting for dinner. Okay, so I think we should,
Okay, sir.
yeah, we can wind up, ma'am.
Okay, sir. I
Okay,
was,
sir. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your valuable insights. On behalf of everyone here, I would like to extend our sincere gratitude to Mr. Aravind Voruganti for delivering a thought-provoking session on AI governance and data integrity using blockchain. Your deep insights into the intersection of AI and blockchain, combined with real-world examples, have provided us with a clearer understanding of how to navigate the challenges of governance and integrity in data-driven systems. Sir, we appreciate your time, effort, and wealth of knowledge you have shared with us. Your session has truly added immense value to our program, sir. Now, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
So to conclude, the blackness in AI systems today can be blocked using blockchain, and I think that is what is going to happen in future. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Now, I request all the participants to switch on their camera for day 5 group photo. I request all the participants, please switch on your cameras for the group photo. As we conclude the 5th day of our FDP on unlocking innovations with blockchain and generative AI, I would like to take a moment to reflect on the impactful sessions we have had today. Dr. Kalavati enlightened us on the practical aspects of building smart contracts on the Ethereum blockchain, equipped with us the tools to design automated decentralized systems. Mr. Aravind Voruganti then guided us through the critical topic of AI governance and data integrity using blockchain, emphasizing the importance of secure and ethical practices in leveraging AI technologies. To all the participants, thank you for your active engagement, thoughtful questions, and unwavering enthusiasm throughout these sessions. We hope today's discussions have inspired you to further explore these advanced technologies and integrate them into your work. With this, we wrap up today's program. Let us look forward to the final reflections and takeaways of this FDP tomorrow. Wishing you all a wonderful evening. Thank you. Thank you to one and all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
thank you,
Yes,
sir.
thank you, sir.
Sir, we post
Thank you, sir.
Google Forms for taking feedback. Tomorrow
Okay.
I'll post in the group, WhatsApp group. Please submit those forms. And we also gave some, we have to prepare a team reports. And we will set up some teams and you need to prepare a report and you should submit it. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, madam.